solve this paper better. So, biochemistry paper 2. We will start with this glycine degradation in the body and outline this. I think we did this, no? Creatinine synthesis. Enumerate the metabolic diseases of glycine. Is it, Imad? Did we?
Which one, ma'am?
Glycine. Did we?
No, ma'am. I don't think we did glycine metabolism.
Okay, we'll do that then. Okay, take out page number 330. Yes, better. So this is glycine. So first, when we talk about glycine, so it is a non-essential amino acid. That means it is synthesized in our body and we need not take in the diet. Okay, that is the meaning. We have glycine. Okay, optically inactive. Now see, all these are not required. What you should study, you should start studying from here. Okay, so what are the like important products which are synthesized from glycine? Okay, so you can get it the complete information from this table. We have synthesis of purines, glutathione. Glycine helps in conjugation of bile acids. It helps in detoxification. It helps in the formation of heme, creatine. It helps in the formation of proteins, serine, oxalate, glucose,
Your voice is breaking, ma'am.
my voice is breaking. Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Imad, is it the
No,
same?
ma'am, it's still breaking.
Still breaking?
Yes, ma'am. It's breaking for me also.
Okay. I'll see if the connection is. Okay, I'm keeping my phone outside. I'm trying to get. Check better if you can hear me now.
Yes, ma'am, it's
Yes,
clear
better.
now.
Oh, okay, thank you. So see, these are all the products which are synthesized from glycine. That means glycine is important for the synthesis of purine, glutathione. It helps in conjugation. It helps in the synthesis of heme. It helps in the formation of creatine. It helps in formation of protein, serine, oxalate. It is broken down to ammonia. Do you remember we studied urea cycle? So glycine is broken down to ammonia. Like through gluconeogenesis mechanism, it is also converted to glucose. See, it helps in one carbon metabolism. Initially, it is getting converted to formate, one carbon form. It is entering in one carbon pool and it helps in the donation of one carbon atom. Is that all right, beta? This is overview of glycine metabolism. Yes, Ritika?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
This is overview. With the help of this overview, when you read the statements, you can make around 15 to 20 points from here only better. Okay. Now, if you remember when we were doing like purine and pyrimidine metabolism, I told you in the purine ring. So like we have like each carbon is contributed by something, right? So the seventh nitrogen, first nitrogen, third nitrogen. Like in the formation of purine ring, the position of fourth, fifth of carbon and position 7 of nitrogen of purines is contributed by glycine. Okay. Anyhow, we have studied this point there also. Okay. Now see, when you talk about metabolism of glycine, that means how the glycine is being synthesized and broken down. Different cycles, like though it looks complicated, but I want every one of you to just like practice this cycle because glycine can come as an essay question as it has come now. So this is the structure of glycine. So glycine can be formed from threonine. Basically, it is a non-essential amino acid. So threonine can be converted to glycine. Okay. Now the glycine, it can be broken down by deamination, transamination are the mechanisms with the help of which it is converted to carbon dioxide plus ammonium molecule. That means this is the channel through which glycine is entering into urea cycle. Okay. One of the end product we have seen is ammonia, isn't it? NH3. NH4 is ammonium ion, NH3 is ammonia. So glycine can be converted to that methyl form, no? So that is, it is helping in one carbon metabolism. So that is in like during the mechanism of breakdown of glycine, you will see the tetrahydrofolate, that is the active form of folic acid. It is now converted to N5N10 methylene tetrahydrofolate. Okay, though this cycle looks something different, but still I want you to learn better. So now see here, there is a transfer of amino group by, see this is transamination. So where you will see what are the things like glyoxylate is now being converted to glycine with the help of transamination. And we require the enzyme pyridoxal phosphate. This is the active form of pyridoxine, one of the B complex vitamin. Okay, then so see glycine, just check the direction of arrow beta. If it is downwards, it shows glycine can be converted to glyoxylate, glyoxylate can be converted to glycine. For the conversion of glyoxylate to glycine, we require PLP and the mechanism is transamination. For the conversion of glycine to glyoxylate, we require glycine oxidase. Okay, like that. Again, this is reversible reaction like the first reaction. Glycine can be converted to serine, serine can be converted to glycine, and these are the coenzymes and enzymes involved. Okay, then serine can be converted to ethanolamine, then ethanolamine can be converted to glycocolate. So this is the cycle beta which I want you to learn. Again, glyoxylate can be broken down to oxalate and formate. Then formate is now converted to N10 formyl tetrahydrofolate. This form is ready for one carbon transfer. It helps in one carbon metabolism. Okay. So this is though little complicated cycle, but please learn this cycle and try to put these steps in your own words. Is that all right, Ritika?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, beta. Then see here, now glycine is helping in the formation of many important things, no, like glutathione. Okay, so glutathione, see actually we have like a few biologically important peptides. The meaning of biologically important peptides in the sense we have a polypeptide chain which the length of which is not more than 10 amino acids, and they are very active and they help in many functions of the body. Like in this, why I am talking about this now is from this glycine you will see the formation of glutathione also. So the glutathione is just made up of 3 amino acids. Okay, we will talk about glutathione when we talk about the biologically important peptides. Okay, it helps in detoxification. Very important functions it has. Okay, now see actually in the essay what is now we are discussing, it has been specifically asked for the synthesis of creatine. That means this cycle is also equally important. You need not draw the like structures, you just write the names. Glycine is now converted to guanidoacetate. Here the arginine is converted to ornithine and ornithine is now entering into urea cycle. So once the guanidoacetate is formed, you will see it is converted to creatine with the help of guanidoacetate methyl transferase. Here you will see SAM, one carbon donor is SAM also, S-adenosyl methionine. Okay, it is converted to S-adenosyl homocysteine. So then creatine is converted to creatine phosphate with the help of creatine kinase. Okay, like that. So then creatine phosphate is now converted to creatinine and creatinine is now excreted in the urine. If you remember, we have this creatinine clearance test, and creatinine clearance test is the most important among clearance tests because once the creatinine is filtered in the glomerulus, it is nowhere reabsorbed in the tubular nephron, neither in proximal convoluted tubule, nor Henle's loop, nor distal convoluted tubule, nor connecting duct. Nowhere it gets reabsorbed. So how much amount of it is getting cleared, the same amount of it is getting excreted in the urine. That's all. How much do we see? Creatinine 1 to 2 grams per day. By checking creatinine in the urine, we can check the efficiency of kidney, whether the kidneys are functioning normal or not. That's why creatine metabolism is very important. Okay, so for this answer, actually you are supposed to talk about the formation of creatine also. So the glycine degradation, synthesis of creatine, and then metabolic disorders also we should know. So the metabolic disorders is glycinuria. Here you have. Okay, glycinuria is a rare disorder. Serum glycine concentration is normal, but very high amount of it is excreted in urine. Okay, due to defective renal reabsorption. That means when it is passing through the renal tubules, the glycine is not getting reabsorbed. That's why you will see it is getting excreted in urine. That is glycinuria. Okay, so it is characterized by increased tendency for the formation of oxalate. That means people who suffer with renal stones, kidney stones, they will have defect with glycine metabolism leading to glycinuria. Okay, so that is. After that, we may also have a condition which is called as what is this primary hyperoxaluria, where you will see urinary oxalate resulting in oxalate stones. Okay, so oxalates are deposited in kidney and various other tissues of the body. Okay, that is primary hyperoxaluria. Okay. So the defect here is the enzyme glycine transaminase is not available. Basically, glycine transaminase helps in transamination reaction. So because of the defect of this, you are finding there is excessive secretion of these hyperoxalurias. Okay, so which is causing the accumulation of this hyperoxaluria is also nothing but a crystal which forms stones. Okay, so that is all about glycine. So after talking about glycine, now we are now talking about transcription, different types of RNAs and indicate their functions. Okay. Check the page number in your respective books. Meanwhile, I will also open transcription. Me and Ritika same page number, I guess. $542 page in my book, Ritika.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So now, basically, what is transcription, beta? Formation of RNA from DNA. It's nothing but transcription, isn't it? Replication is formation of daughter DNA from parent DNA. Translation is formation of proteins from mRNA, right? So now we are going to discuss about transcription and different types of mRNAs. Are you on the page? Transcription?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but so basically transcription is the process from where RNA is synthesized from DNA. That is the meaning of transcription. So transcription is actually very selective. Now see here, now like everything is not given on the screen, but listen to what I am telling you so that you will understand more. See, basically when you have a cell, inside the cell we have nucleus, and inside the nucleus you have chromatin. So much of genetic material is there, isn't it? So when so much of genetic material is there, only some part of this genetic material will be in the form of DNA, double-stranded DNA, right? So one part of this double-stranded DNA is being identified and it is being read and it is being prepared and it is coming out of the nucleus into the cytoplasm in the form of mRNA. RNA. So that means when so much of genetic material is present here in the nucleus in the form of chromatin, then how these polymerases will identify where the transcription has to take place. So for which you have special type of code words better. So like we have a sequence, we know like when we have studied about genetic code, when we were doing few answers, genetic code is nothing but like three nitrogen bases like ATG, CAT, GGC, anything. Triplet of three, we generally call it as genetic code. We know this fact, isn't it? So this is all genetic codon. So in this codon, wherever you have the sequence of Tata box, Hogness box, there is a the sequence of thing like the arrangement of these nitrogen bases is TATAAT. So you call it as Prinbo box. Okay. Then there is one box is which is also called as Hogness box. I'll show you from the other picture. Yeah. See, Hogness box is there and Tata box or cat box is there. So what is that representing? Now this is whole thing is the double stranded DNA. We have so many nitrogen bases, some millions of nitrogen bases are there. Now DNA polymerase, RNA polymerase is an enzyme which goes and identifies the point where transcription has to take place. So how that RNA polymerase enzyme identifies? So in this genetic information, in this genetic codon, wherever you will see the sequence of these nitrogen bases like A, T, A, T, A, A. So this arrangement, this sequence is actually called as Hogness box, which is generally 70 base pairs away when you measure from 3 strand of the double stranded DNA. And when you measure it from here, like from 5 prime, it is around 25 base pairs away. So similarly, there is one more arrangement of one more set of nitrogen bases like GG, CC, AA, TC, which is called as cat box. So just these polymerases will identify the sequence of these nitrogen bases and they will come and attach here so that the transcription will start. So basically transcription is nothing but formation of mRNA from DNA. So see, this is now, if you observe, this is 3 prime, 5 prime, 5 prime, 3 prime. We know this is our double stranded DNA. Basically, 3 types of mRNAs are present, RNAs are present. No? We know we have 3 types of RNAs. One is ribosomal RNA, second is messenger RNA, and third is transfer RNA. So for the synthesis of ribosomal RNA, we require RNA polymerase 1. For the synthesis of messenger RNA, we require RNA polymerase 2. And for the synthesis of tRNA, we require RNA polymerase 3. So these polymerases are actually identifying the place where which has to get undergo transcription with the sequence of these nitrogen bases, which are nothing but cat box and Hogness box. Okay, once they are identified, they will be read, okay, and they will be cut and they will be coming out in the form of RNA. So that means from the nucleus, the RNA is now being transported into the cytoplasm. So once it comes into the cytoplasm, it's not like it is completely like very much well defined or organized. Actually, it is in crude form. So many like functional groups are there which are not required. The structure is also very much too much big and it is very much structured once it comes out, which is actually called as post-transcriptional modifications. That means the mRNA which comes out from the nucleus to the cytoplasm has to be refined so that it is now forming the pure mRNA. So that is actually called as post-transcriptional modifications. So the RNA which is coming from the nucleus into the cytoplasm, the crude form of RNA is called as pre-RNA, also called as heterogeneous RNA. So this heterogeneous RNA is undergoing certain modifications towards the extreme ends, which are called as end modifications. Okay, towards the cap, that is the head end, you will see the 5 end of mRNA is capped with 7-methyl guanosine by unusual 5,5 triphosphate linkage. So S-adenosyl methionine is the donor of methyl group. So that means this cap is required. That means what cap is coming here? 7-methyl guanosine. And methyl group is being given by SAM, S-adenosyl methionine. Okay. So this cap is helping for the transfer of this RNA from the nucleus to the cytoplasm. Similarly, the tail end of the RNA is also undergoing certain modifications. Like poly A large number of eukaryotic mRNAs possess adenine nucleotide chain at the 3 end. Okay, that adenine nucleotide, like sperm is very active, no, because it has a tail. Similarly, this mRNA has to move from the nucleus into the cytoplasm. So towards the tail, we have a lot of adenine. ATP, do you remember? ATP is the source of energy, that is adenine triphosphate. Similarly, you have a nucleotide towards the tail end of this crude form heterogeneous RNA, that is adenine nucleotide towards its tail end. So this tail is actually called as poly A tail. Okay, so poly A tail actually is helping the mRNA to enter into the cytoplasm. Once the mRNA is entering into the cytoplasm, this poly A tail gets separated. Its work is done. Its job is done. Similarly, something like carnitine, which helps in the transport of fatty acids, isn't it, from the cytoplasm to the mitochondria during fatty acid bit oxidation of fatty acids, isn't it, like that? So that is poly A tail. So cap, then poly A tail. Now, when I told you the heterogeneous RNA or pre-RNA is a crude form, it has to be modified so much. So this is the structure of this mRNA, where you have certain chemical substances which are not supposed to be seen in the main structure of mRNA. So all those things which are not required, like exon will contain the nitrogen bases like adenine, guanine, uracil, and cytosine. But intron is a waste area which has to be removed from the crude form of heterogeneous RNA. So we have SNRPs working on this, which will remove the introns and which will allow these two exons to come and bind. So it will contain, that means the fine refined form of mRNA will contain only the sequence of nitrogen bases, not unnecessary functional groups that is being removed by the SNRPs. Okay, so the excision, that means introns are removed. This intron is just cut and spliced and removed, and you will see this exon and this exon both are coming and they are getting sticked together. Okay, so that's what is called as intron splicing. So we have seen end modification, we have seen intron splicing, and the mRNA is quite big in size so that it is cut into pieces so as to facilitate the formation of the protein. So we have so many different types of proteins in our body, no? Albumin, globulin, prothrombin, fibrinogen, hemoglobin, hormones, muscle, bone, everything is protein. So that is all being designed now, cut into pieces, and new chemical functional groups are being added to that cut piece of mRNA so that you will get a refined form of RNA which is formed. So these are the various mechanisms which are taking place for the formation of a refined form of RNA from the heterogeneous RNA. So this is what is called as post-transcriptional modifications of RNA. This itself may come as 5 marks question also. Okay, whatever RNA is coming from the nucleus into the cytoplasm is in very crude form. Okay, with the help of all these modifications, it will be transformed into a fine functional type of these three different types of RNAs what we have: mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA. Okay, now after that you have this picture also which will help us our clear understanding. Basically, I told you in our nucleus we have so much of genetic material in the form of chromosomes. Now see here only one black line is indicating an area which has been chosen by these RNA polymerases to undergo transcription. Okay, this has been drawn in detail, like as though it is drawn under microscope. Okay, you have gene clusters and the size of these genes 1.5 into 10 to the power of 6 base pairs. Okay, now see here, in this also only this particular area is being read now, one gene. This is gene clusters, no, around 16 genes you have. Only one gene is being read. So in this gene also you have exons and introns. Just now I told you, we have exons are the areas where we have the sequence of nitrogen bases, whereas introns are the areas where we do not have anything. Okay, so that pink, white is shown alternately to represent exons and introns. Around 8 exons are there and 7 introns. So 7 introns will be removed. So this is the primary transcript. Okay, finally white areas, that means what are removed? Like introns are removed and all exons are being, pink areas are exons. So finally mRNA. Okay, so the size is gradually reducing if you check. Okay, 2 into 10 to the power of 3 nucleotides. NT is nucleotides. Everything is given. So something like an overview you can check here. So how the chromosome is being identified, how the enzyme is identifying that particular area. It is cutting and bringing outside and it's further getting modified with the help of post-transcriptional modifications. Are you understanding, Ritika?
Yes, ma'am.
Imad? Hema?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So similarly, so this was all about mRNA, isn't it? It is. Similarly, we have a tRNA, ribosomal RNA. Only enzyme differs. What is the enzyme for tRNA? RNA polymerase 3. For rRNA, RNA polymerase 1. For mRNA, RNA polymerase 2. Okay. So like that you try to remember. RMT. Okay, RMT 1, 2, 3 in order. All enzymes are RNA polymerases only 1, 2, 3. RMT is ribosomal, messenger and transfer RNAs. Okay, beta. So this is everything about transcription. So we can use certain drugs to prevent transcription. When you are planning, no, so much of protein synthesis should not occur in the body, then you just give drugs to that particular patient. Okay, so it can be inhibited by certain antibiotics and toxins. Like we have anti-myosin B. Okay, we have rifampicin. This is anti-tuberculosis drug, anti-leprosy drug, alpha amanitin. Okay, these are the various drugs which can be used as inhibitors of transcription. Okay, now I will tell you from where till where you should write because this looks very lengthy, no? You can note down if you want. First, give the definition of transcription from here, page number 254 or 51. Just give one definition. Anyhow, nobody will ask you in prokaryotes because in human beings we are eukaryotes. Our cell is eukaryotic cell. So you just give the information like transcription in eukaryotes from here. Then you talk about these three polymerases. Okay. RMT, just now I told you, polymerase 1, 2, 3. Then promoter side, Hogness box, Tata box, this you give the detail. Initiation of transcription. Please study this factors, it's quite easy. Then study about post-transcriptional modifications. Give this flowchart, you can elaborate in your own words. Okay, everything you should write till here. Alpha amanitin. I want you to write everything till here. Read once. If you don't understand anything, again you can ask me. I gave you the clear concepts of transcription in fact. Okay, now we will move to next answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Now see here. Oh, biological functions of zinc and iodine. Okay, we'll see. We will
That
have
is in
this.
minerals.
That is in mental metabolism, beta. Iodine, whatever you have studied for thyroid hormones functions, you have
Thyroid.
studied, no? For physiology.
Yes, ma'am.
Those functions you can write because iodine is basically going into the composition of T3 and T4 hormones. Zinc, we have few functions we will see. Okay. Mental metabolism. It's not a so tough question also. You're not reminding me of writing exams, but I'm also forgetting being busy. Every Sunday. This Sunday, will you write biochemistry? Ritika, Imad, Hema. It will help you.
Well, even I'm having tests, so I will see biochemistry and whatever.
Let me know what is your convenient day and time, please.
Okay, ma'am.
Because it has been a long time. I didn't take any of your tests. I think 403 page better. Mental metabolism for Ritika and me. Yes. Yes, we have iodine here, but just look at the screen. So I told you it is going into the composition of thyroid hormones, no? T3 and T4. Just look at the dietary requirements. How much do we require? Adults 100 to 150 micrograms per day. Pregnant women 200. Sources: seafood, drinking water, vegetables, fruits. Okay. We know high altitude like Himalayan belts, the soil will be deficient in iodine. That's the reason they will suffer with goiter and thyroid gland disorders. Need not go with all these things. Just write. See, functions also he didn't give much because functions you can write from the, see, it helps in the regulation of almost all metabolisms: carbohydrate, protein, fat metabolism, normal working of cardiovascular system, nervous system, isn't it? All systems of the body are well controlled with thyroid hormones, isn't it? So then we'll go to zinc. Yeah, zinc functions. See, it is essential component of several enzymes like carbonic anhydrase, alcohol dehydrogenase, alkaline phosphatase, like 3 or 4 enzymes you try to remember. It is an antioxidant. Okay. So that means it is just killing, like neutralizing the free radicals which may damage our cells. Okay. So it is the storage and secretion of insulin from beta cells of pancreas is requiring zinc. It's necessary in maintenance of normal levels of vitamin A. Okay, because it helps in the formation of retinol binding protein. It is also required for wound healing. Okay, gustin, a zinc containing protein of saliva, is important for taste sensation and it is essential for proper reproduction. And dietary requirements 10 to 15 milligrams per day. Sources: meat, fish, eggs, milk, beans, nuts, anything you can write better. Deficiency of zinc, growth retardation, poor wound healing. Whatever functions you have studied, that you can just write as deficiencies. Okay, beta? So that is all about these two elements. And then nitrogen balance. I hope we have discussed nitrogen balance. Did we? Nitrogen balance. No? Okay. We will see again. What is the source of nitrogen in our body? Proteins, isn't it? And proteins are not stored in the body, please remember. Okay?
Okay,
There
ma'am.
is only synthesis, wear and tear process, for which proteins are utilized for the formation of bone, for the formation of teeth, hair, nail, muscle, but it is never stored. So we will see nitrogen balance, you will understand very clearly. 511 in my book. 511. Kritika, you can open.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Nutrition chapter, Iman.
Okay, ma'am.
See here, beta, nitrogen balance. See here. Now, the body protein. So we have an amino acid pool. So generally, I told you nitrogen is not stored. That means proteins are not stored. So the source of nitrogen is dietary protein. That is nitrogen intake. I is we are taking the nitrogen in the form of proteins. So that is protein is now converted into amino acid pool. So that amino acid pool is being utilized for the formation of body protein. What is the body protein? Bone, muscle, hair, nail, hormones, plasma proteins, all those proteins are synthesized from this amino acid pool. Okay, that is anabolism. Once the lifespan is over, we know, like suppose hemoglobin, 120 days, it will be broken down. Again that hemoglobin, heme plus globin, that is again coming back into amino acid pool. So whatever is in excess, it is not stored. You see, it will be either excreted in the form of fecal matter or it will be excreted in the form of urine. Okay, or it will be excreted in the skin in the form of sweat also. We will lose certain amount of urea and nitrogen. So this is the overview of nitrogen balance. So this is at equilibrium. The nitrogen input is equal to nitrogen output at equilibrium. That means now our growth is over. Now we are not growing tall anymore. That means how much ever of protein we are taking inside, the same amount of protein is also being excreted either in the form of fecal matter or urine or skin. For positive nitrogen balance, that means positive means what? The amount of retention of this nitrogen is more, as we see in growing children. The input is more than output. That is positive nitrogen balance. In pregnant ladies, in lactating ladies, we will see positive nitrogen balance. Negative nitrogen balance means you are giving so much of protein. Okay, nitrogen input is less than nitrogen output. So where do we see nitrogen output? Generally, we see negative nitrogen balance in case of cancers. Okay, so just read once this nitrogen balance, you will understand. Okay. So positive nitrogen balance we see in growing children, pregnant women and all. Negative nitrogen balance where you will see in case of like deteriorating disorders, cancers, Kwashiorkor, marasmus and all. So that is all about nitrogen balance. Okay. Read once nitrogen
Yes, ma'am.
balance. Okay. Then blood buffers, regulation of pH. Okay. What are blood buffers, Peter? Do you remember the names? Bicarbonate buffer.
Bicarbonate, phosphates,
Very good.
phosphate buffers.
Yeah. So, buffers. Here, Peter. 468 page, Ritika. Chapter is water, electrolyte, and
Okay.
acid-base balance. Iman. Chapter 21.
Okay, ma'am.
468 for us. Okay, water, electrolyte, and acid-base balance. So here you have, see what are buffers? Buffers are nothing but the salts of see, I'll give you proper definition, which will not allow the alteration of pH. Those are actually called as buffers. See here. See, buffer is defined as solution of weak acid and its salt. Combination of weak acid and a salt with strong base is called as buffer. What is the normal pH of our blood? 7.4 to 7.6. So whenever pH is falling, you will see the bicarbonate is coming and neutralizing the acidity of the blood. Whenever alkalinity is increasing, the acid ions are being added to the blood and it is being neutralized. That means the pH is always maintained constant irrespective of so many chemical substances released in the blood. Suppose during ketosis, all our ketone bodies are acids only, no? Acetone, acetoacetic acid, beta hydroxybutyric acid. Despite of so much of production of ketone bodies, most of the time